pairing rational thought. In this way, viewpoints that might have been rejected by the subject out of hand will suddenly appear plausible. This means the target population must experience repeated exposure to the same desirable beliefs, using a wide variety of formats and activities. Let's take the acceptance of homosexuality. Now, this can be promoted, is promoted, in a variety of ways. For example, 1, by offering a new Barbie doll spin-off called the Gay Billy doll. You may have seen it. Another way is to working with producers to ensure that a wide variety of popular TV programs have gay and lesbian actors and plot lines, or handing out pro-homosexual literature to youngsters as they enter or leave elementary schools, or just keeping the topic of homosexuality always in the news with sympathetic articles in magazines, you know, gay marriage, hate crimes, gay parades, and so on. And then there's launching non-stop ads and billboard campaigns, usually under the cover of AIDS awareness. In a school setting, conditioning would entail an interdisciplinary approach to learning so that the topic is inserted into all curricular areas, like Michael Chapman showed you in the fuzzy math thing. You put it in, you intersperse it everywhere you possibly can. You slap the message on everything that stands still. The same approach is applied to promote gun control, global warming theory, or smart growth. Same thing. One reason our side has fared so poorly is that we have failed to utilize the multidisciplinary approach to advancing our views. In Washington, D.C., where I am, for example, we have no billboards on the highway or in the subway stations like our opposition does. In Hollywood, there's little effort to recruit good scriptwriters and lobby producers, even though there are some there that would be ripe for the lobbying if you were to do so. In Detroit, no one is at the elementary schools checking for people illicitly handing out gay literature. In New York, there's no massive effort to buy up or to take over existing media outlets, even though you could do so. When we do form new media outlets, we label ourselves conservatives or religious, so that our opposition doesn't have to do it for us. They never call themselves the leftist television network. Okay, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. The final phase of indoctrination is always testing. And there's a little spin on that. To be sure the desirable new ideas and beliefs are internalized and accepted by the public. In the case of, say, homosexual tolerance or even just sexual freedom, promiscuity, for example, experts would look at the sales figures for the Gay Billy dolls. That's a test. And that Austin Powers doll that squawks, "Are you horny, baby?" at the child who picks it up off the shelf. The sales figures function as a test. If the test results are disappointing, it's time to recycle, usually using a more hard-hitting approach and going through the whole 5-step indoctrination process again. Eventually, resistance to sex-filled entertainment starts to sound silly. If the Austin Powers doll that squawks, "Are you horny, baby?" is deemed funny by most parents instead of gross, then that's success. The reason the method works is that various marketing campaigns or lessons, if you will, bypass the conscious intellectual mind and shoot directly for the more vulnerable subconscious. It goes right for the gut. So how do you help kids avoid groupthink? Not only do you have to deal in meetings and on committees and, you know, with these specific attack strategies used against you by professional manipulators, you have to teach your children the pitfalls of misleading rhetoric. That is, you have to explain, and frequently, how words can be put together to deceive them. In this age of Oprah, for example, you'll have to explain what privacy means. They don't know. I mean, it used to be that if someone came into your house and asked, "How much did you pay for your couch?" that would have been insulting. You'd have thought that was private. Not anymore. The child cannot possibly be expected to know what's inappropriate if you don't explain it to him. So, at the beginning of this session, I alluded to the principles of psych war. The most fundamental precept, which again goes all the way back to the days of Confucius, is all warfare is based on deception. This means every kind of war, not just some wars. Thus we see that as early as 500 BC, Philosophers understood that success in war, be it armed or psychological, depends on the ability to confuse and delude while concealing one's true character, weaknesses, strong points, and intentions. Let me say right up front here, this is not lying as in bearing false witness against one's neighbor. This refers to your personal demeanor, the way you conduct yourself, not to something that you state or write down about somebody else. For example, always let your opponent believe that an escape route is open, so they will flee, showing that there's a road to safety, an alternative to losing all, then strike. That's from that little book, The Art of War. Let's consider this allusion to an escape route here. Our opponents have always given us an escape route. What do we escape to? Legitimacy, acceptance. What's the price? Capitulation on the issues that are more important to our adversaries. The road to safety is usually enticing bait that will distract you from the larger issue that is important to your opposition. The Democrats used the phony budget agreement in 1999, which allowed Republicans to save face with the public by claiming victory. But once they seized this route, they were attacked from another direction. An enemy may be conquered more easily if the appropriate conditions have been created. What are the conditions? People, what are the conditions that you create? Framing the debate and controlling the psychological environment. Recruit persons who are highly intelligent but who can appear to be stupid, who may seem to be dull but in reality are strong, who are vigorous and energetic but can appear to weary easily, who are well versed in earthly matters and able to endure great humiliation in order to succeed. This axiom is absolutely crucial to success. You have to learn to play the game, then turn the tables. And I must say that Mrs. Davis is one of the best people I've ever seen to intuitively understand this principle in talking to her. It's obvious that she understands this requirement, but you know, all of us have to do that. And the other thing we have to do is not to gobble preferred baits. Our opposition throws us a bone every once in a while on some favorite issue, and in the process saps our energy and diverts our attention from still other issues. Too often we take the bait without a quibble. For example, the bait of environmental conservation, as Michael Shaw pointed out in the first presentation. Weary your opponents by keeping them constantly occupied. Make them rush about, offering them ostensible advantages. How many times does this have to happen to us before we get the message? Our adversaries have taken our strengths, such as time-tested moral virtues, and made them into weaknesses, something everyone's supposed to laugh at on TV, while utilizing our weaknesses in organizational know-how and strategy against us. The conservation issue is a perfect example. We're kept so occupied with the rights of bugs and fish that we've nearly forgotten about the rights of humans. So get it into your heads that our enemies don't care about such things as unborn children or the safety of animals and mothers, one way or the other. But if the issue keeps us busy, that's often good news for them. If you don't believe it, go back and study the chronology of the environmental debate and, say, the abortion debate, and then juxtapose the various wins and losses we have had on other issues around the same time in the House and Senate. Another example is race. We're so constantly confronted with articles and news concerning racial tensions that hardly anybody remembers the dream of a colorblind melting pot society. Those skilled at making an opponent those skilled at making an opponent move do so by creating some situation to which he must conform. For example, by enticing him with something he's sure to take. That's sort of like not taking the bait, but not exactly. This is what the opposition has done with declining test scores. By creating a situation in which academic scores are sure to decline, and Michael Chapman explained how that was done, of course the scores in math, hard math, science, and so on are going to decline. Then we were enticed to take the bait of school reform and standards. From there, it's a short jump to restructuring schools, ostensibly to improve test results. Unfortunately, both the standards and the reform have been largely bogus, the terms redefined. Now here's a good one. Do not demand accomplishment of those who have no talent. I almost hesitated to add this one, but hey, Sun Tzu put it in there, 500 BC. Now, I know that sounds